Oh, hello everyone. Today we're gonna make a video to respond to this discussion in Django subreddit, and the topic is to walk through the process to set up a real-time crypto data dashboard or something like that with Django channels. I am not an expert in this topic, but I do feel like I can do it. I do have some experience with Django channels, and I have projects running in production, but I haven't done this exact same thing before. So let's get started. The first one you do is to create a footer. Let's call it say watch for crypto watch. It's short. Right, so I prefer to use poetry for things like that. But it's not a thing, I guess. But we'll do this instead. Add the dependencies here. We'll do Django channels, or just channels, I believe. I guess that's it. Oh, right. You need to do poetry add. Okay, so let's get started. I believe I need to do poetry shell, and then I could have let's open the code editor, or actually let me do Django admin first. Start projects, say watch current folder, and I can do manage.py start app watch. So now we have a project and an app. Let's open the code editor. Yes, I trust. So at this point, we should just follow the channels documentation here, right? Installation. So this part might be a little bit boring, but I will have some timestamps if I upload this to YouTube, and feel free to skip ahead to the relevant part. So I replace the ASCII file here, and replace this with cwatch. And this is the last part, I believe. Okay, let's run the server. Actually, migrate first. We won't be having any models. Those are all built-in migrations. Let's see what happens. Yep, that's great. We have Django. Okay. Well, I guess we can start with some templates, right? Template to run our client-side code. Doesn't matter. Yeah, this doesn't really matter. And I will have a body tag here. We'll write some script here. So let's create a dev. We'll give it a class price. So this is where the price will be shown, and initially it will be loading or something like that. Here we can create our WebSocket connections. We will not be using any dependencies, and we'll just be writing our JavaScript here for this demo. I will also just hard code the URL. Let's call it WS one. So set up our view here, index view. Okay, shortcuts. Render. This is just gonna render, return a very simple rendered template. Select HTML. Let's go to the index view. Okay, let's give it a try. Template not found. Well, where's templates? Okay, I'm not sure like what are the I mean, right, because we don't have installed apps. Actually, it doesn't really matter. You can just add it here. Let's see, watch templates. That should work. Yeah, so it have a loading here, but the WebSocket. Oh, what did I do? It should be WS, but it should fail because our backend doesn't have that yet. Right, no application configured for scope type WebSocket. To do that, we need something here. We need to add a WebSocket. I'll just follow the channels tutorial here. Let's see what it does. So it does something like that. So I'll just copy that. Right. What did I do? URL router. I don't need authentication for this. URL router is here. URL router. And I don't have chat. So I do have, so our application is called watch. So we'll create a consumer here. Consumer. And this is gonna be a subclass of 0 patterns. Right, we need to create a routing first. I think this is new, like it doesn't used to work differently, but that's fine. Right, consumers. Right, so we have a chat consumer, and copy this to here. Let's do a async JSON WebSocket consumer, right? And this is gonna be watch consumer. Why is it not working? Oh, its name should be consumers. Watch consumer, and I'll change the URL to WS to be the same with the front end. So we have a consumer and we have ASCII here, and that should be import watch.routing. Okay, so that should, let's see. Which consumer has no attribute as ASCII? Yeah, it's to be a subclass of that. So let's see what happens here. Network. Well, it doesn't look like, oh, it's just because the layout is weird. So it actually connects, which is good. So the basic idea of setting up a price watch or something like that is on the front end. We can listen to WebSocket messages by doing something like that. Then we can do payload equals to JSON.parse. Yeah, that looks reasonable. And then we can replace the loading with whatever the price is. So we can do price equals to payload dot price. We can just choose whatever name we want. It's just like we need to be consistent between the front end and the back end. And then we can do, we haven't done this in a while. I believe it's query selector. That's reasonable. Inner HTML or inner text. Oh, there's no inner text. Anyways, so it's gonna be price dot as a string. Is that sound right? Or actually, price should be a string, right? Because no one uses, no one should use float or numbers to represent price. Yeah, so let's see what method we have here. We have connect, right? Let's just like copy this. All right, so by default it accepts the connection. Let's just try something really simple here. So that's send JSON, and what was it? It's like price and some string, something like that. I need to refresh, and it worked, but cannot set property inner HTML for now. What did I do? Oh, it should be a dot because it's CSS selector. Right, so now, as you can see, the price changed. So that's the first step, right? We are getting some data from our backend, and it's being displayed on the front end. Now we need to just find a data source to get the to query the data on a schedule, maybe like every 5 seconds or something like that. You might be tempted to do something like this. Do we have? That's just like, it's a death loop. Create another shell here. So watch poetry add requests. Right, so you might be tempted to do something like this. So let's, what was the API? So we'll do the RESTful API first. Just because it's easier to get set up in, for example, like this. It does have allowance. I think it's okay for demo purpose. As long as we don't have some kind of dead loop or infinite loop or something like that, it should be fine. Oh, the price is in fact a number, which is interesting. Huh. Yeah, that's weird. Okay, but I guess it's JSON string, so it should be fine. Or I don't know. So you might be tempted to do something like this. Let's see. Results equals to let's import this first. Stuff get URL here, and the price will be results.json dot. Oh, how does it? It was like doing some auto completion on JSON data. That's dangerous. Price, right? And we just copy it here. And of course, we don't want. I just said we don't want a infinite loop. So I just import time here, and time does sleep. 5 seconds. Actually, we should do this last, right? So the first half, this should not be too slow. Price. Right, something like that. Let's see if this works. Right. Well, first of all, if the first call actually stopped working, like this send JSON. Let's see. Oh, its server is like now locked up, so you can only request it once, right? So on the first request, it's actually not been accepted. Yeah, because if it's accepted, it should be 101. So it's not being accepted, and the reason for that is when you have a while loop here, it's going to block the whole thread, and so basically, let's see if there's a better way to describe this. So basically, the ASCII server or the ASCII application actually, ASCII application runs inside of an event loop, and that event loop is running inside of a thread. And when you have a while true here with time.sleep, this thing will block the whole thread. And because of the whole thread is blocked, the event loop is also not progressing. And I think that's why self.send JSON is not actually working. Let's see if we're actually getting the price data. I do believe the price data should be working. It's just all the async costs are not being executed, right? So the price is still being retrieved. It's just like all the send JSON or even accept is not being called. And so one way to solve that, and I think there's a library or a package called ASCII-ref, which I think now is a dependence of Django, and it provides this thing called what's called sync to async. So what this thing does is it turns a function in it takes a function, and if it returns a new function, and if you call the new function, it's gonna call the old function, the function we passed inside of a thread pool, and that way, because the request or the things happening on that thread pool will not interfere with what's happening, what's running inside of the thread where the event loop is located. So to do that, we can just wrap the request.get inside of that function, and we need a wait here. And I think this only works the first time, because let's see if this works. So you are getting something like the accepted is being called, and you are getting some updates of the price, it might look like it's working, but in fact, if you open it in another tab, nothing is going to happen. That's because the event loop is still being blocked by this time.sleep call. So instead of doing that, we need to do async io.sleep. So this should give us what we want. If the server is running, of course. Oh no, we gotta wait. Right. Okay. So now every 5 seconds this should be updated. And if I have it open in a new tab, it still works. But there is another issue, and I don't know if you can see it. I don't know if it's obvious enough, but every time a client connects to our server, we are running this piece of code. And that means we are running this event loop, not this event loop, this while loop, twice if 2 clients connect. And if you have like 5 clients connect to your server, then you're running this 5 times, which is, in this case, it's kind of wasteful, right? Because you only need to get the price info once. So let me, oh, this is, okay. And potentially another issue with this very naive approach is that is the fact that, well, because you have a while loop here, right? So you cannot do anything down here. Like if you can do something like, wait, maybe I want to send some other message. It's just not possible because this is unreachable code, right? So to avoid that, the first step we need to, let's close that. We need to define a new method or a function. It doesn't really matter. It's called send price info, something like that. And I copy it here. So here, instead of doing the while loop in line, I can do a wait, so the send price info. But the problem is actually worse here, because now the editor doesn't tell you that this is unreachable code, but in fact it is, because they're still being blocked by this while loop. So this would never finish. So basically what we're trying to do is we want to start a task but not wait on it. But instead we want to do something on our own, like do a different thing, right? So the way to do this, one way to do it actually is to do task equals to async io.create task, if I spell it correctly. Right, so if we do that, basically create task will run this task in the background, and you can get the status of a task from the task here. And of course you can cancel it, like task.cancel or something like that. In fact, actually let's try this. Let's do an experiment here. Self.id equals to, I don't know, global. Can I have a counter here, right? I go global counter. So that copies the value, and here we'll just print from ID. I'm just trying to figure out if I don't cancel it, what happens? Will it just run forever? Not sure if this works. I haven't really dealt with like global variables in Python like seriously though. It's something very new to me actually. So let's see what happens now. Right, so 0, 1, 0. So now if I kill this 1, I believe that's 1. I think it's still running. Right, so the task will just continue on. So the other thing we need to do is remove all that is that I think we have a hook called disconnect. Right. So in a disconnect, we can just call task. Let's assign task to self so we can have a handle of that. Cancel. Now, now that should not be an issue. Even I removed the test, the code to test it, but I'm pretty sure like it should not go on forever in this case. Now let's work on the other issue, which is like when there are two clients connected to the same server, like this task is created twice, but really I think the preferable way to do this is I have one task to just get the prices and then have those consumers to sort of subscribe to the price updates. Okay, so I only need to really query the data every 5 seconds. How should we do it? So one way to do it, just coming out with all that code, we can have some instance of a watch or something, right? We can have a watch and then have a subscribe. I think the easier or like kind of a more verbose way to do it is we can create a future here, right? And eventually we want to do await price equals to await future, right? So that's the basic idea, and then we just send the price. The issue is we need to pass this future somewhere for it to be fulfilled, and let's build out that parts. Right, so we basically we need to pass future to somewhere where it can be fulfilled. One way to do it is to create let's create it like a watch, right? And what it does is it basically emits a price every 5 seconds. So basically all the requests that's running is inside this watch object or an instance of this this class. Let's see. Well, let me just like copy it here. Here first. And it needs to be a async function, or it doesn't really have to be. I think future is like thread safe, right? So you can set the result in a different thread, but let's not overcomplicate things. Price. Okay, so I have this price here. What should I do next? We can have an API here called, doesn't really have to be async. Let's call it like on get price. or actually, let's put add future. It's a future. In here, the idea is that we can have a watch instance, and here we can call watch dot add future. So that's how we want to use it. Now let's figure out what the watch should actually do. So the watch should have a start function, and the start should just like create a task. I think I need futures here. It's list of futures. Task is also a future. All right. Is it task or future? I'm not sure. They are kind of similar to each other. So dot create task. What should the task be? So this returns a task. Okay. Future is not defined. Yeah, that's better. What should the task be, right? Get price. Oop. So basically it just wraps the get price inside of a wrapper. It's not necessary, I can just, but since I'm already here, so I do await self.get price, and then async await. Don't forget to await. Async IO dot sleep 5 seconds. Now with the data and the price, and well, so in the get, I guess add future should just be self.future push append future. Right, so here all we need to do is look through the futures. It's a typo. Loop the future, and we set the future's results. Set result. We set the price as the result, right? And then we can just clear futures here. Right, clear does that. So the task will just be set the get price loop, yes. Now the problem is I cannot call watch the start here because created task requires the state of the program to be inside of the event loop already. But in this phase, we were just trying to define all the classes and stuff. We don't have event loop. So kind of, but we can call it here. But we don't want to create duplicated tasks. So like one very simple way to do it. Then we just return. Otherwise, we create a task, and we have a stop. Yeah. I mean, it's not necessary, really. Maybe we don't have it for this purpose. So another way to do it, I think, is instead of like have a list of futures, maybe we can have a list of consumers and do something with that. Not entirely sure. And this is actually better because we only start the watch when we have at least one client. And maybe we can do something more, maybe we can do something like smarter, right? Like if the last listener or the last consumer is gone, then we stop the watch. I won't demo that today, I believe, but I think you can do it like on add done callback, right? So basically, you can say if this task is done. I'm not sure if it's called when it's canceled though. But I think it's an option to like stop the watch when there's no consumers. Okay. Well, let's give it a try. I think I haven't covered everything, but well, let's give it a try. Let's print something out to just so that we know if things are actually working. What should we print? Well, let's print the list of futures. Oh, another thing, and it's kind of important, is that the client might disconnect while it's in this state when there's a future. So the future passed to here might be canceled already. So we need to have this check. If future die is canceled. Is it a function? Is it property or right? So if it's already canceled, then we'll just continue. So that should cover most of the cases. Let's give it a try. Well, not this one. Server is probably not running, eh? Yeah, so we have our first future here, and that's our first client. Now, if we have more clients, let's see what happens. Let me move this down here. So as you can see, we have now we have like two futures here. So they're all getting updated. Stay undefined thing. Oh, I'm thinking that should not happen. So yeah, so we are getting messages here, like on both clients, I believe. This one is now disconnected because the server restarted, right? Yeah, that's something in practice, we should have some kind of reconnection behavior. And I think there are libraries that just does that on the front end. But that's beyond the scope for what we're trying to do here. Yeah, I think that's about it. There might be some issues, some bugs I'm not aware of. But as the post said, there are a lot of like chat room apps on Django channels, but they're lacking some important parts. I'm not sure if I covered the important parts the OP is referring to, but I haven't done a real life a real chat room before, but hopefully I cover something that chat room examples doesn't cover here. And actually, the other way to do it is to actually use the WebSocket API here, right? Because it's already async. We can have a WebSocket client running here, and it emits the what's it called, the price to all the futures every time when we get a data. So we can get rid of this while loop and sync to async, but I think that's also beyond the scope today. Yeah. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. But that's it for the video. Thanks for watching.